Hey, what's up? It's Cinemania Recapped. In the beginning of the movie, we see a man named Goon-Soo. Goon-Soo is a detective by profession, and he is returning from the funeral of his own mother, but while returning on the way, out of the blue, a dog comes in the middle of the road. To save the dog, Goon-Soo hits a man with his car. From now onwards, Goon-Soo's bad time starts. When Goon-Soo gets out of his car and checks on the person, he notices that the man has stopped breathing, meaning he is dead. Just then, a police car is coming from behind. The name of the man, whom Goon-Soo has just killed by hitting him with his car, is Lee. Just then, Lee's loyal dog comes near his dead body. Today is also Goon-Soo's daughter's birthday. She asks her father to bring a chocolate cake. Just then, Goon-Soo notices that a police car is coming towards him, so Goon-Soo starts hiding the dead body of the man on the side of the road. The policemen are unable to see Goon-Soo and go away from there. Now Goon-Soo takes the dead body in the back of his car. After covering some distance, Goon-Soo encounters with the traffic police. Officer Lee asks Goon-Soo to let him check his car properly because Goon-Soo was driving after drinking, so the officer asks him to do his sobriety test. Goon-Soo tries to avoid the sobriety test and starts making different lame excuses. The police officer comes to know that Goon-Soo is driving after drinking. On this, Goon-Soo tells the officer that today his mother has died. So to overcome his grief, he has drunk a little bit, but the officer is adamant on doing his sobriety test. The police officer also notices some marks of accident on Goon-Soo's car. Now Officer Lee forcefully asks Goon-Soo to get out of his car because he is trying to leave from there without taking the test. So Goon-Soo gets out of the car and goes to meet the officer standing outside and tells him that he's Detective Goon-Soo of the Western District and his mother died today, so he had drunk liquor a little to calm his mind. The officer also doubts Goon-Soo being a detective, so he asks him for his ID, which Goon-Soo could not provide. Then a police officer starts checking Goon-Soo's car. To stop whom, he starts fighting with the police officers, so the policemen knock Goon-Soo unconscious with the help of a fire extinguisher. Now the scene cuts to Goon-Soo's office, where the investigating team has raided his office. Now we again see Goon-Soo, who has regained consciousness, and the police officer available there also come to know that Goon-Soo is actually working as a detective in the Western District. Now Goon-Soo is annoyed at the behavior of those policemen. Meanwhile, the raid at Goon-Soo's office reveals that Goon-Soo and his co-workers are accused of taking bribes from people in local businesses. Now we see Goon-Soo at his home, where his co-workers and his boss have come to show their consolation on the death of his mother. After a while, Goon-Soo's boss reveals to him that there has been a raid in our office in which a lot of money has been recovered from your office locker. One of the colleagues starts speaking bad words about Goon-Soo. Therefore, Goon-Soo gets into an argument with his co-workers. Now we see Goon-Soo standing before his mother's dead body. Then an unknown man sends a text message to Goon-Soo in which he is told that the police team is going to search his car. Because they have got suspicious of you, this upsets Goon-Soo, so he starts running towards his car to wipe out the evidence. After this, he goes towards his mother's coffin. He goes there and asks the funeral officer for some more time to sit by his mother's side, on which the officer agrees, but that officer does not know that Goon-Soo has got there with a plan. First of all, Goon-Soo covers the security camera with the help of the balloons he has brought with him so that no one can see him doing anything. Now Goon-Soo is pulling something towards himself with the help of a crawling toy. What is this thing? We will know it in a short while. That toy starts making noise, which makes the officers standing outside suspicious that something wrong is going on inside. Here, Detective Goon-Soo starts opening his mother's coffin, the sound of which is heard by one of the members of the office staff standing outside. That girl then brings a security guard out. The security guard calls his head and asks if there is any problem inside. Goon-Soo's toy also breaks down, so he picks up the cross kept on his mother's dead body, and then with its help, he takes the toy out of that duct. We come to know that Goon-Soo was pulling the dead body of the man inside through that toy. He puts the dead body of the man, whom he killed in an accident, along with his mother's dead body in the same coffin, and then he puts the lid on the coffin again. With the help of the wooden nails, he locks the coffin. The funeral director is also about to make his presence felt, but before he enters the room, Goon-Soo has done his job very perfectly. Goon-Soo notices that the phone of the man whom he has just locked in the coffin, along with his mother, is ringing, so he starts praying to God to protect him. Now we see the funeral director has got into the room, but by then the phone had stopped ringing inside the coffin, and Goon-Soo is sitting calmly in front of the coffin of his mother. Seeing the director, Gunsu starts leaving from there. Now the scene cuts to the funeral of Gunsu's mother, where Gunsu apologizes to his mother for all the bad things he has done to her till now. Now we see Gunsu in his office, where he has a criminal case of the same man whom he killed unknowingly by hitting him with his car the previous night. Seeing the photo of that man, Gunsu gets a little scared. Here Gunsu comes to know that the name of that man was Lee, and he was involved in criminal activities. He used to run bars and brothels. Now, everyone reaches Lee's hideout to catch him red-handed. Here, Gunsu finds the same dog which was present at the accident spot on the night of the accident. Gunsu follows the dog and reaches the same place where he had hit the dog's owner, due to which he passed away. Then a policeman comes there, and he tells Gunsu that last night there was a hit-and-run case in which the culprit dragged the man away. Hearing this, Gunsu gets worried, then his colleagues arrive there. The policeman reveals to Gunsu's team that we will find out where the culprit has absconded by watching the street CCTV camera. Now Gunsu is afraid of getting caught. The police team starts investigating the video footage. Just then, Gunsu also arrives there. Here, Detective Jason investigates the video very closely. He sees a dog in video footage, seeing which Jason understands that something must have happened there. That is why the dog is standing there and looking in the other direction. He also sees a black-colored car in that footage. Seeing it, Jason says that Gunsu, you also have a similar car. He tries to read the number plate of that car, but due to the poor video quality, nothing is visible clearly. Seeing this, Gunsu was having tempests of nervousness inside his mind from behind, and he is constantly afraid of getting caught. Now we see Gunsu in his house, where his sister tells him that our mother had a boyfriend, and he is also locked in the coffin with our mother. Hearing this, Gunsu is shocked. Now the scene cuts to Gunsu's office, where he gets a phone call on which the caller tells him that he has seen Lee. Lee is the same person whom Gunsu killed unknowingly in a car accident. The unknown caller further says that he knows who has killed Lee. Hearing this, Gunsu is taken aback, so he disconnects the phone call immediately. But that caller keeps calling in Gunsu's office again and again, and he wants to talk only to Gunsu and no one else. Now that caller tells Gunsu that he wants to file a report against the man who killed Lee. The caller asks Detective Gunsu where he took Lee after killing him. Hearing this, Gunsu's hands and legs start trembling, and he disconnects the phone call again, but that man keeps calling him over and over again. This time, the anonymous caller tells that he is the one who knows that you have killed Lee. Now Gunsu comes out of the office room while talking to that man. On the other side, the caller says that he knows that Lee has been killed by you, and he also knows where Gunsu has buried Lee. Gunsu tries to find that man around him, then his eyes go to a telephone booth where a man is talking to someone on the phone. Detective Gunsu gets suspicious and follows him, but the blackmailer quickly leaves in a taxi. Gunsu follows him in his car, but a traffic jam prevents him from reaching the blackmailer, so he gets out of the car and follows him on foot, but the man has left by then. We now see the blackmailer in his uniform, which reveals to us that he is not a common man, but a policeman. Now the scene cuts on Gunsu, who is sleeping in his car, where his colleagues get there and wake him up. His colleagues tell him that they are returning from his mother's graveyard because Lee's last location was found there, but due to network problem, we could not find him. The blackmailer again calls Gunsu and starts blackmailing him. On this, Gunsu says to him, "What proof do you have that I killed Lee?" But this time the man disconnects the phone call. Now the scene cuts to Gunsu's office, where the same blackmailer is calling again and again, but Gunsu is not picking up his phone. Then the same man, who is a policeman and harassing Gunsu, comes to his office and showers slaps on Gunsu and says, "How dare you ignore my phone calls?" On seeing him, Gunsu immediately recognizes that this is the same blackmailer who has been harassing him. Here we come to know that the blackmailer is not an ordinary man, but Lieutenant Park. After this, Detective Gunsu follows Lieutenant Park to the toilet and asks what he wants. On this, Park tells him to bring Lee directly in front of him without asking any questions. After this, an intense fight starts between the two. At first, Gunsu succeeds in beating Park, but later Park beats Gunsu very badly and asks to bring Lee at any cost. Now Gunsu leaves to get Lee's dead body. He reaches the graveyard and takes out his mother's coffin because he had buried Lee's body in his mother's coffin. He takes out Lee's body and examines his body thoroughly where he finds 2 bullet marks on his body, which means that someone had killed Lee even before Gun-soo hit Lee with his car. To investigate the matter thoroughly, he reaches Lee's house. He searches his house thoroughly, where he finds some documents related to Lee's criminal record. Now we see Gun-soo chasing a man, whom he catches successfully and asks why Park is looking for Lee. This man tells him that Lee has stolen the key to Park's private safe, which contains millions of money. The man tells Gun-soo that Lieutenant Park carries out illegal activities under the guise of police uniform. He is a drug supplier and also runs bars and brothels. He distilled the seized drugs with the help of his men and took them into his possession afterwards. He sold them at a huge profit and opened bars and clubs. When Park went to finalize the drug deal with a man, Lee ran away with the money and drugs, and since then, Park is after Lee. Now Gun-soo again starts searching Lee's body, where he finds the same key, because of which Park is chasing Lee. Just then, Gun-soo's one of the colleagues, Detective Jason, arrives there because he has come to know that it was Gun-soo who killed Lee. Detective Jason handcuffed Gun-soo. Gun-soo tells him that he did not kill Lee. Jason opens Gun-soo's handcuffs, after which Gun-soo tells Jason that Lieutenant Park is blackmailing him, and it was Lieutenant Park who killed Lee and not him. Just then, Park's call comes, and he asks Gun-soo to get out of his car and orders him to stand 5 steps away from his car. Then we see that a huge boulder falls on his car, due to which Jason dies in the car itself. Seeing this, Gun-soo is very sad in his heart because he has lost his best friend. Gun-soo tells Park that he will surrender himself to the police, and then his game will also come to an end. But then Park reaches Gun-soo's house. Park starts blackmailing Gun-soo by using his family as a base. Gun-soo rushes towards his home and finds everyone safe when he reaches home. Park sends a text message to Gun-soo in which he orders him to bring Lee in front of him at 6 p.m. Now we see Gun-soo putting bullets into his gun, which makes us understand what is going on in Gun-soo's mind. He wants to end this problem forever. Now Gun-soo sets out to meet Park with Lee's body. Now Park is standing in front of him. Gun-soo puts Lee's body into Park's car. Park snatches Gun-soo's gun and takes out all the bullets from it. Park reveals to Gun-soo that before you could kill Lee, I had killed him and threw him in front of your car, but before that, I forgot to take the key of my locker from Lee. That's why I had been searching for Lee. After revealing this, Park leaves from there, but Gun-soo has already put a time bomb in Lee's body along with it, due to which Park's car blows up fiercely after covering some distance. Gun-soo stops there for a while to confirm whether Park is dead or not. When he does not see Park for a long time, he leaves from there. Now Gun-soo is at his home, where he is talking to his daughter Mina, and talks about reaching her in a short while. Now as soon as Gun-soo opens his door, Park is standing in front of him, seeing whom, he behaves as if he had seen a ghost. Park starts beating Gun-soo very brutally. Park drops the bookshelf on Gun-soo, due to which he becomes unconscious, but he regains consciousness immediately. Gun-soo tries to take out his gun hidden in the bookshelf, but he is unable to get to the gun. Park pulls Gun-soo out of the fallen bookshelf. To save himself, Gun-soo locks himself in a room. He ties Park's hand inside the door and goes out of the back window of the house, and then comes inside the house through the back door, but by then, Park has freed his hand. Now a fierce fight starts between the two. Park tries to choke Gun-soo to kill him. Now both of them see the gun hidden under the bookshelf and try to grab it. Meanwhile, the trigger of the gun is pressed and the bullet hits Park directly, which ultimately leads to his death. Now we see that Gun-soo has quit his job, so he starts packing his stuff, but his boss asks him to ponder over his decision again. In the last scene of the movie, we see Gun-soo standing near his mother's grave with his daughter. Here he finds the same key of Park's locker, which contains millions of money and for which Park had been after Lee. Gun-soo picks up the key and uses it to get to Park's locker. As soon as Gun-soo enters the password for the locker, he sees uncountable amount of money in front of him. So much money that he probably never even dreamed of. And that's how this movie comes to an end.